Okay, welcome to Facebook Live. I'm just going to make sure we are Facebook Live. And guys, introduce yourself.
My name is Rue. I work in the Hombu Dojo in Dublin. I teach full time, except for when we're in lockdown, and I teach my classes online in Roscommon, which is where I am now.
My name is AJ. Well, Audrus Janušauskas, that's my real name. In case you're wondering, I'm teaching in Hombu Dojo full time. I think already 4 years. Yep, that's it.
I'm Ross Stewart. I've been teaching at the dojo for 5 years now, a little over 5 years. I'm Scott Sensei's favourite.
I'm Simon Sensei. I don't know who Ross is. Okay, we're going to start. Let's start. So we've got loads of questions to get through. Okay, question number 1 from Chrissy Howard. Many karateka will envy your positions and believe you are living the dream, karate dream. But with all types of employment, there will be some elements of struggle. Can each of you give me one example of what is great about what you do and what is most challenging?
What's the worst thing about my job?
And if it's about us picking on you, we will ramp it up to a level you've never seen before in your life.
No, because that can happen. That can happen in any job situation. Like workplace bullying is a real problem. But it doesn't exactly pertain to my job. But living in Dublin in general, there's no point having a car. It sucks up your money. So I don't have a car.
Nice.
And I spend a lot of time on my bicycle, cycling from class to class. Just like Scott Sensei used to do back in the day before you bring it up. But I've been doing this job nearly 2 years now, and I'm on my bike every single day cycling from class to class. And sometimes I get very, very wet. Although it does have its advantages as well, like it keeps me extra fit. And so that the traveling, getting wet, because it rains a lot, obviously, in Ireland. So getting wet on my bike is the worst part about my job. Even if you have nice waterproof gear, sometimes it's just not enough. You just get soaked to the bloody skin.
Okay,
and the best part of my job is like it said in the question, you are living the dream, although we've been warned not to think of it that way, because we're not happy out. We are constantly working, training, trying to get better. We're not, although we have a dream job, we're not living the dream, because we're still working, we're still trying to get better, and that can be a struggle sometimes too, but at least we get to work at something that we love doing.
Well said.
AJ?
Yeah, like Rose says, I think the answer is already in the question, we are living the dream. As Rose says, we've been warned not to think this way, but that's the way it is. And it's not just an easy way of life. It's kind of constant struggle, balance between injuries, pain, laziness, tiredness, lots of things going on. But that's the thing, that struggle makes us stronger, and that's the nice side. We like that struggle. That is kind of living the dream. The hardest probably part for me, I think the worst is sometimes when you love karate so much and you try to teach it and you don't see effort. I think that is really hard, for me to see people which absolutely no responding or not trying, and you have to do everything to make them work. So yeah, I find it quite challenging. At the same time, I understand people have different understanding and abilities. So sometimes letting them go and do what they can is the only option.
Worst part is if you annoy the boss, he gets to hit you. That's the worst part. You get physical punishment, and you can't reciprocate because he's too good to hit. So to hit back, so it becomes very a little bit fit then. No, seriously, the worst part. I think your body does take. Like I'm noticing now, like body, like how fatigued my body is 100% of the time. Now that we're in lockdown, the amount of classes, the amount of karate I'm doing on a daily basis has reduced by quite a lot. And I now feel how much more energized and how painless my body can actually be. I'm not like constantly in pain that you don't even realize. So I think fatigue, like when you're always on your feet being physical, I think is the toughest part. But that being said, the best part, clearly, we're getting to do what we love for a living. It's not often that people get the chance to do that. So for me, it's an easy sacrifice to make. Yeah.
I mean, like I feel I have to kind of clarify the like, as two of you have alluded to, like me saying you shouldn't think like you're living the dream. I mean, like what I mean by that is like being a Hombu Dojo instructor, or being a full-time instructor, it's a huge amount of pressure to
Yeah, I wanted to say that too. Sorry, go on.
Yeah. Well, you didn't though, did you, Des?
No, but it came to me later when AJ was talking. Sorry, carry on.
Man has his second thoughts first. Yeah, I mean, like there's huge amounts of pressure, right? So kind of maintaining that level and consistently, like a lot of people can muster the enthusiasm to kind of dedicate their lives to something, but it kind of peters out quite quickly. They have these big life affirming moments, and right, I'm going to do this with my life, and then 6 months later they go, what? Sorry, oh yeah, no, that was a kind of a passing whim. So like to kind of do this consistently for not months but years, decades, then that is a huge amount of pressure. So the only way to live your dream is to work really, really super hard, wherever that is.
Yeah.
So, okay, next one from Steve Bells. To all, sensei is translated generally to as teacher, but some see this as a deeper relationship. What is your relationship to the use of sensei or instructor, and what values do you want students to take by using sensei in the future years? Do you feel sensei is used lightly in today's world?
Sensei, like to say, is just teacher. I think that kind of, you're so much more than that at times. I think like you're more like a social worker sometimes than an actual teacher. Like you become someone who, like a confidant for a lot of people, because you are an authoritative figure who they look up to outside of their normal life and stuff, that they maybe feel they can come and tell you things that they can't tell mum and dad and stuff like that. So a lot of especially young kids come to you for advice and stuff like that. Not only are you teaching them karate, but you're trying to make sure that they stay on the right track in life and all this stuff. So I think there's a lot more responsibility than just teaching that comes with being sensei. I don't think that's like exclusively though. I don't think every sensei has that put on them, but I think when we do it full time, the way we're doing it, and you build these relationships every day with people, yeah, you become a lot more than a teacher, I think. But I think sensei, like certainly in this dojo, still carries the same respect most of the time. Talking about is it sort of misused? I think here it carries that weight when we say it. And we always refer to each other at times of when you need to show respect and stuff as sensei, and it's very serious when we do that. So yeah, we don't really take the word lightly, I don't think.
I would say some people look at sensei as a leader, like as some kind of spiritual guru nearly, or even life coach in simple words. If you're looking where it's coming from Japan, where all that hierarchy was very strong, I think we're still kind of trying to stick to that, and it's kind of, I think, a little bit that line starting to disappear between sensei and teacher and instructor in some sort of ways. I respect my sensei a lot. I think many people maybe sometimes even being a little bit too fanatic about that, if that makes sense, you know what I mean? They kind of want some sort of leader, some sort of example, and that's good if it helps people, to become better, and at the end of the day, we want from sensei good karate. Like, do I see those things in my sensei? Do I get those things in my sensei? Absolutely yes. Am I myself that? I wish I will be one day, you know what I mean? It feels like it takes time, to grow to that level, to be sensei, you know what I mean? It doesn't, just because I signed a contract a couple years ago, I don't expect, to be called sensei and everybody bows to me, mindlessly. Like, so yeah, I think it's more like you earn that, you know what I mean?
Oh, sensei, yes.
I think because we're not Japanese, we make our own meaning for the word sensei. Like, the huge majority of my students are between 5 and 12, and if I went to them and I was like, by the way, sensei doesn't really mean teacher, directly translate as one who has gone before. But they just know that that's what first of all, they won't get it. Second of all, for them, it's just a word that they have to call me when we're in class, the same way they have to call their teacher, or miss or sir in school. But because we can't relate to the true meaning of the word sensei, it becomes something new for us. And it doesn't matter what the true meaning is. What matters is the meaning that we can bring to it and the meaning that our students will give to it. So if our students are proud of us, if they respect us, and if they like us, then the word sensei will evoke those kind of things for them. For me, because I mostly just teach kids anyway, I'm just like the kind of fun but strict uncle that they get to see once a week. But maybe that's what sensei means for them. And for people, they come to the dojo really, really regularly, and it becomes like an outlet for them, something that they need for their mental health, etc. The word sensei means something completely different for them. If you're a competitor, and your sensei is just your coach, somebody who pushes you, somebody who gives you the drill, somebody who shouts at you from the sidelines, that, whether it's karate or basketball, you form a special bond with your coach too. So we just happen to call that thing sensei.
Yeah, I think the only thing I'd add is like obviously sen means before and sei means life. So someone who's lived that life before you. And like we have it in English, like we have elderly statesman or elderman. Like in the tribal life, you'd have eldermen of the tribe or women who are there to give the kind of the younger people the wisdom of the years. And like, to me, that's what we should try to be. And I don't think it's impossible to understand or to not understand it just because it's in a different language. I think we have the same words in English as well. And the other thing that I think it's really important to kind of make sure that people understand that, because otherwise, if they understand that you're the person who's led a life before them, then they won't try to emulate you. They will just learn from you and your wisdom that you've learned on your path. Whereas if you go, I'm sensei, this is how you do it, then they try to walk your path, and ultimately they're just trying to kind of copy something that's impossible, and ultimately it'll lead in kind of lead to them being disappointed and failure. So I think for sure, like what we do in the dojo is how we just are ourselves, and people call us sensei. Okay, when we're in the dojo teaching, they have to call us sensei, and then as soon as we step out off the dojo, then they can make up their own minds. Some people continue to do it, some people don't. But yeah, ultimately they see us as people who are on their own journey, and they're kind of coming along for the ride, but not necessarily following the same things we do, which is an important understanding of the term, I think.
Yeah, I don't want to do what you did, Scott Sensei.
I think it's also a benefit of having multiple sensei.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah. Okay. Next question. Oh, I've lost my page. Hang on. It's okay. I've got my glasses on. Gary Johnson asked, do you have a preference for brand or model of karate dogi? And does your preference change depending on whether you're training, instructing, or traveling overseas? And Ross, how do you find living and teaching karate in Ireland as opposed to Scotland? Okay. Brand of karate dogi, Hirota Ku. The same thing I've worn for years. Before that, it was a Hirota Pinak.
I would definitely say Hirota Ku or Pinak.
None of us wear heavyweight dogis.
I used to have a Blitz diamond one that was like that thick. I remember when I was younger, my mum used to go crazy. It's like, I can't fucking iron this thing. Trying to spending hours just grinding away the ironing board trying to iron the dogi.
Yeah. But I don't think anybody changes their dogis depending on what they're doing, right?
No, maybe if I do like I have one Adidas one that I wear if I know that I'm going to be doing like nothing but kumite.
Okay.
Because that is like super light.
Yeah.
And it's quite good. Feels quite nice to me about it. But yeah, if I actually wanted to do karate, yeah.
And how do you find living and teaching in karate in Ireland rather than Scotland?
Well, it was a massive jump for me because I wasn't teaching professionally in Scotland to start with, so this is completely different. It wasn't a full-time dojo. I was teaching in Scotland at a leisure centre, very run-down part of town, very sketchy compared to the the amazing spot that we have here in Ranelagh, you know, the one of the nicest parts of Dublin. So the general like vibe of the place is so different. I find Irish and Scottish people very, very similar. Not a lot of difference there whatsoever. And I just think the big difference is I've grown up a lot, believe it or not. I've grown up a lot over here, and I think I've changed since being.
He was like that when he started here.
Yeah,
You were so skinny, no muscle. Oh, where's it gone?
yeah,
So-
all the muscles.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the big thing is the big change isn't so much the difference between teaching in Scotland and Ireland, but it's having the difference. I've changed quite a lot since being here and having some guidance as well. I never really had much guidance when I started teaching in Scotland. Had a lot of help and a lot of guidance over here.
Okay. To all, do you have any resistance or weight training in support of your karate, or is that where Tabata and tube work comes in? So we have these tubes, which are the 3 1 meter long physiotherapy tubes, and they're fairly, as you can see, they're fairly thick rubber and fairly kind of hefty. And we have them 3, and we do a variety of exercises with these. Like we've got quite a few YouTube videos on my YouTube site about tube training. We put tube training in, there's loads of ideas, but we use them kind of at least once a week. And then we have these big weight vests, which are 10 kilos?
10.
10 kilo weight vests.
This must be Ruth's country.
And a lot of we do a lot of stuff with this. Kihon, kumite, kata, just kind of moving around, doing kumite with 10 kilo waist vests on. A lot of kind of like up and down basics, Ido Kihon we do. We also have these ankle weights, which, you know, like just basic kind of ankle wrist weights. These are, what, 2.5 kilos each. And it depends what we're doing. We'll either use one and kick fast. We put around our ankles. Either one, kick fast, and like you need to build up to that because you need to kind of support your ligaments. But ultimately, you can kind of kick fast with them. Or sometimes we can have up to 3 on one leg, and we'll do slow kicks. Maegeri, moshigeri, yokigeri to the count of 3. So always like first count up, second count kicking and back, and third count down. We'll do that kind of maybe 30, 50 on each side, depending on how we're feeling. So we do that kind of 3-4 times a week. Anything else? Makiwara, of course. Yeah. We have 2 makiwara over in the corner there, and we also have. Let's see if this will kind of cope with it. We also have a little kind of coin that allows us to see how much. So if the coin moves, see if you hit it hard enough. So yeah, that's what we do, as well as Tabata interval training, which allows us to kind of produce kind of explosive power. That's it.
Let's not forget that we constantly have some sort of challenges. Once in a while, we come up with something and we have in goal to master it. It could be just doing squats for 3 minutes non-stop, or you remember that thing we used to do with the pole, or jiu-jitsu.
Yeah,
there's lots of things in between we kind of always finding, quite challenging and funny.
Okay, yeah. Anything else? Can we think of anything else that we do?
We've got loads of dumbbells. I use the dumbbells all the time.
Dumbbells, yeah. Yeah, we have a big load of weights, loads of weights, and that we use as well. But I don't use. These guys use. Yeah. To all of you, maybe we cover a little bit of this, or make it quick. But Samuel, why did you apply for the job? What did you expect, and what are your future plans? Okay, that's yeah. And also for Ross, you have been in Dublin for quite a while now. Last year, you passed your Yondan, much as we all love you. When are you fleeing the nest, and what are you going to do? So,
who asked that?
Simon, bye.
Get out of here. What's me gone?
I asked him twice. Well, first one was to all of you. Why did you apply for the job? What did you expect? And what are your future plans? Okay, let's start with Rue.
I wanted to be a full-time karate instructor anyway. I was establishing a dojo down in Cork City, the real capital of Ireland. I had already started a few classes.
Instead of strip.
The guys were looking for a new full-time instructor, so I just I cancelled my classes in Cork and moved to Dublin.
And what were your expectations, your future plans?
Well, my expectations have been fulfilled. I wanted to. I already knew what it was like because I'd done the internship, and I knew that it was a life I wanted to. I wanted to join you guys and train every day in the dojo with you guys and travel around and teach classes for the Hombu Dojo. Yeah, so those were my expectations, and they were fulfilled. Also, I knew that it would help my level a lot, and it did. Because even the 1 month of the internship, I learned a bunch of stuff that I hadn't even considered, and I knew that really to advance the way I wanted to, I'd need to be doing it full time. I wasn't going to get where I wanted to do, even if I had my own full-time dojo. If I didn't have if I didn't have you guys to train with, I wasn't going to make the progress I wanted to. So I needed to be training with AJ, Ross, and Scott. And then my plans for the future are top secret.
Okay.
No, I've shared my plan with the guys, but I don't want to make them public because you get reward for something you haven't done yet.
Okay, AJ.
Well, why did I apply for the job is just I think it's a great opportunity in life to do what you like, what you love, and you have passion for. Like, that's the thing. That's why I wanted to change my life. I mean, I didn't know what I'm jumping into, what I'm putting myself into till I started teaching. I mean, I didn't know what to expect, but all I wanted to do is more what I like, and here I am. So I'm pretty happy, doing that and changing my dead end job. It's a game changer, life changing opportunity. What I want, what I'm planning in the future, what's my plans? It's just simply, I want to really become good at karate. I'm kind of always, maybe recently even more, I have time to think and experiment with ideas and thoughts and everything else. I'm kind of starting to think that I may be starting to understand what karate is all about. And don't ask me what it is, because I'm still not sure how to put it in words, but just like, it's kind of clicking together. So I want to become good at karate, and teach good karate. Simple as that. That's all. That's all I want.
Cool. Ross?
I've always wanted to do karate for a living. And I remember my dad came into my bedroom and said, Scott's just put a job, just asking for people to apply for a job in Dublin online. Why don't you give it a shot? And I think that happened very quickly. And I think 2 weeks later, I'd moved to Dublin. So you could see he was scraping the bottom of the barrel,
And his mum's been cursing his dad ever since. Why did you tell him? Ross has left home.
So it's something that I've always wanted to do. And as soon as I saw a way of making it happen, you just had to go all in. And I'm glad I did. And in terms of like expectations, I don't think I expected anything different than what happened. Really, I expected the training to be tough, which it is. I expected to get much better at karate, which I have. I expected to have to learn quickly how to teach to the same standards that were already set in the dojo, which was a challenge. But over time, I think it worked out really well. So yeah, in terms of training stuff, I couldn't be. Well, I couldn't have been happier at the time, and still very happy. In terms of the future, I am currently dating a very beautiful American girl who's over in the States just now.
Is she watching? Is that why you said that?
I don't think she is. You know that? I don't think she is. She doesn't care. She's like, well, Ross is online, whatever. But so yeah, dating a very beautiful girl who's in the States just now. We've been doing long distance it's been 3 years now. So the plan is to, I think, eventually move over to the States and start a dojo in her neck of the woods. So that's the plan. We'll see how well that goes.
Yeah. For all the instructors, what are the main areas of interest at the moment with regards to your own personal study within training?
Flexibility.
Flexibility, yeah, that's a good one. AJ, we should kind of speed up the answers a little bit. We never get through them all.
I think there's so much improvement, so much room for improvement for any levels, unless you 6 Dan Scott Langley. So I'm
I
working.
just delete you.
I'm working on many things, and I was kind of organic, not like I have planned. Recently, I just thought, I'm gonna, as a challenge, staying home, I just printed take a Sundan, those drawings how to do, and I was trying to figure out, and I was working on that because it was most annoying kata, because some of us do it 200 miles an hour, and none of us can catch up. Anyway, so those little goals, like, some week I'm thinking about one aspect, like relaxation, maybe other week working on Zanshin, on like focusing, just simply being aware of what you're doing. When I was preparing for my last grading, I was kind of more focused on grading syllabus itself. So I was obsessed about that, you know what I mean? It's always kind of, like a short answer, karate is a never-ending journey. That's what it is,
I'm trying to find just now ways of connecting basic Kihon to how I naturally punch and kick things, and what parts of Kihon am I using to do things practically with power, speed, all the rest of it. So just now I'm messing about with that a lot, especially in my own time.
Well, I think I just kind of I don't really work on anything apart from I allow I don't want to get all Rick-Hotton about this, but if you're quiet and you're just open, then the muse comes and you kind of are inspired by the inspiration is the breath of God. That's what it means. And so like if you're quiet and you're just kind of open to ideas, and I think like this lockdown for me has been I found exceptionally creative, like an exceptionally creative period where I've writing far more. I've written for a while and kind of training far more, and also kind of teaching, like playing about with like lots of different ideas, and they're kind of coming out in the weekend seminars now. So I am not ever focused on anything until it kind of decides to focus on me, if that sounds less pretentious than I wanted to sound. But yeah.
Really pretentious.
Yeah, it does sound really pretentious. Well, that's kind of typical, isn't it? As soon as I get a question for myself, it cuts out. Put the nunchaku down, Rue.
I was just gonna pose like this when the live thing came up again and go, and that's how Bruce Lee would do it. Anyway.
Right, a question for me.
Jesus.
From Lisa Andrews. To Scott Sensei, since karate training has changed recently and we've all now training via Zoom, I have enjoyed learning and found it interesting whilst training with different instructors across the UK and the world. Is this something that can continue once normal training resumes? Asking for Ella, aged 11. Yes. Okay, next question. No, we're gonna do is obviously we scrambled very quickly to kind of get stuff online and doing things like this and just keeping busy and keeping these three out of mischief. But once we're back up and running again, obviously the Zoom classes will be difficult. Certainly I'll be, if travel is allowed, I'll be back traveling most weekends. These guys will be teaching, blah, blah, blah. But what we do want to do is set aside one adult class in the evening per week, or maybe on a Saturday or a Sunday, and one morning session, like instructor session, once a week. We'll set them aside, and they will be broadcast live through Zoom, and they will be automatically uploaded to the HDKI website and probably YouTube. And so that will provide a kind of on-demand, both instructional class once a week and a hard physical class once a week. Just because doing things like this have become so positive that we don't want to lose that. Also, I really like this kind of Facebook living through Zoom, and it means like I've done loads of Facebook lives over the years with people, like this, asking questions, blah, blah, blah. But like now it means that we can do it. We don't have to be in the same place. And so like I did one last weekend with Ricardo Sensei from Mexico, the weekend before with Aidan Trimble Sensei from Nottingham. It's great. Yeah, it's a real good medium. So for sure, in one way, one form or another, we will continue this. Okay, next. For Scott. I'm on a roll. I'm just not going to cut off.
Another one.
Since the foundation of the HKI has the style of Shotokan that you are practicing and teaching changed or developed in any way from what it began as?
Yes, he changes the katas all the time.
Question for me. Well, let me just address that. There are no absolutes. We want to maximize the spectrum of possibility within everything that we do. So to be fixated and dictated in what you do, I think will limit the art that you can create. So I, ebb and flow in my own karate, and depending on what I'm doing, I'll say, no, do it this way. But these guys take it as absolutes. Oh, Scott Sensei, I must do it that way, and so they practice that way. I never say it like that.
Sensei, that's the first time you've admitted that you changed it.
I don't change.
Before it was, I've always taught it this way. I've always taught it this way.
Nonsense. Absolute nonsense.
But within the straightness, there are curves. Within the stillness, there is movement. And within the movement, there is stillness. If you only understood that.
One day.
Ross. AJ's fine. Look, he's staying quiet.
And he always does. And then he messages me later, like, I totally agree with you, Ross.
So to answer the question, I think that my karate has always been developed. First of all, I don't necessarily think that I do Shotokan karate. Of course, Shotokan is the language that I use to convey information, but I don't really put much value in Shotokan karate. I don't really put much value in karate. I don't really put much value in any specific generic martial art. I don't want to get all pretentious again, but I feel like I'm a martial artist, and I just turn up to a dojo and I'm me, and I do me. I don't do anything else. I don't try to emulate Kagawa Sensei's karate or Kato Sensei's karate or Asai Sensei's karate. There's too much of that. There's too much of people trying to cut and paste their sensei's karate, and they come up as second-rate copies. It's much better to be half as good and authentic than try to emulate someone who was brilliant. So for sure, you should. I'm not trying to copy or do anything, and I don't fit myself into that box. And as a result, it's constantly changing. Art, by definition, is forever changing, forever developing and evolving. To have a traditional martial art is oxymoronic. You can't be traditional, which is set and fixed, and an art or artist. You can have a martial art, or you can have traditional martial studies, but you can't have traditional martial arts. So I'm a martial artist, so therefore my Shotokan, the language I use to convey it through Shotokan, is forever changing. So what started that was just my desire to enjoy my journey. God, if I was practicing the same stuff I was just practicing 5 years ago or 10 years ago, or I would be very bored, because you're just repeating and you're not improving or doing anything.
I know it's not a Q&A, but talking about not being a copy of your sensei, many people maybe would think they need to do things different way. Do you mean it's just that some part of Shuhari, when you develop some sort of karate level, then only you can understand and maybe do it your way? Or what exactly do you mean, not to copy? Because we do copy you.
Copying the principles is fine, but copying the shapes or copying the training patterns or not being able to loop out of those training patterns, there's a number of things that you all do that maybe starts with the kernel of what I've done or what I've taught or what I've said, and then eventually morphs into something else. And the longer you train and the more you teach, the more that will morph into your own unique take and understanding of it. So it's not as if you're kind of getting on a weekday night and teaching verbatim what I've taught. You're putting your own slant on it. And so you only want to, if you evolve a millimeter past what I've kind of evolved to, then you've evolved more. So I want everyone to kind of find their own way. And that means you're going to evolve in different ways and that might mean that sometimes, you might disagree with what I'm doing. Well, that in that disagreement is the beauty of martial arts. You know, if everyone was on the same kind of path and doing the same thing, it'd be really mundane and boring. You know, like every instructor, I had once remember Einar Hagen, who's the instructor over in Iceland, come over to teach, and he were driving to the dojo, and he said to me, he says, "Oh, what do you want me to teach this weekend?" I was like, "Anything you want, you know." He goes, "Well, you know, I have to say I disagree with quite a few things that you teach." And I was like, "Excellent, teach them. That's what I want you to teach. I don't want you to teach what I teach. I can teach that myself." So for sure, we want to have a look at like different ideas and different aspects and see what we agree on, disagree on. And, you know, you have the thesis and you have the antithesis, and in between is the synthesis.
Synthesis.
Words of wisdom.
Next question. Next question.
I'm wasted on you guys.
No, we just heard that a few times.
Okay, 2-2 from Amanda Gibbs. 2-2. During lockdown, what have you found works really well in your training and teaching in confined spaces, and what do you think would work really well but had to be adapted?
What works really well in a confined space?
Yeah.
Like, you don't actually need that much room to do karate.
Yeah.
Yeah. It all kind of, just about everything still works. The one thing that's missing just now is kumite.
It's
yeah.
kumite, yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Everything, we can still do everything else, really.
Yeah. And I think for my impression, I'm certainly looking at people teach online, is they're trying to fit the generic karate shapes into a confined space. And so they're thinking, oh, how can we do Heian Shodan? And so they come up with inventive ways of doing Heian Shodan on the spot. Well, that's fine, and I understand. But to me, they're still thinking about shapes of karate rather than thinking about, well, what's really important about Heian Shodan? Well, you know, maybe driving into Hamni or driving into Shoman or having that kind of complete connection. Well, you can practice that in one step. And so I think at the moment, when you see karate as shapes, when you see Shotokan as 26 kata, Gohon Kumite, Kihonipon Kumite, Juipon, Ju Kumite, and Ido Kihon combinations. If you only see Shotokan as that, then you'll go, oh, I'm in a confined space, therefore I can't practice karate. But if you see karate as a whole host of principles of physical movement, then you can practice that by moving, you know, half a step forward, let alone kind of the space that most people have. Okay. Paul Uren says, question for Ross, Rue, and AJ. I study karate outside of work time. As karate is your work, do you still study it and other martial arts in your spare time? If so, please explain what you are studying and working on. Okay, well, it's kind of asked, but go on, quick fire answers.
Yes.
Okay, I'll admit. I'll admit I'm not training other martial arts, and I'm not saying it's good. At the same time, I feel like all time I would be doing something else. I want to do karate. Like I generally have general idea how Taekwondo people fighting, what's more or less going on in mixed martial arts, judo. I mean, and I'm saying that they have a great way of training and then now the amazing fighters. But at the same time, it would bring some benefit, definitely knowing more in different martial arts. But I want to focus just on karate. At the same time, I'm not trying to be the best fighter and be able to win against any martial artists. You know what I mean? I just want to be good at karate.
I do in my own time dabble in different things, like if there's, whether it be, you know, doing different training drills, like more boxing style of head movement, stuff like that, the things that you would say karate at a very basic level is missing. I'll look at videos and stuff in my own time and try and implement that. Like I come in on a Friday myself and I do some work, or I'll have the boys there and we'll maybe do some different way, like Rue, myself do it quite a bit. We'll work on try different things and stuff that we probably don't get the opportunity to do when we're teaching ourselves, yeah, or training as a group in the mornings and stuff where we're dedicated to karate and that sort of craft. Kind of we step outside of the sort of norm a little bit. That's probably the most adventurous I get.
Yeah, I think our schedule doesn't give us a lot of time to go out and actually go to classes like other martial arts classes like Taekwondo or Muay Thai or BJJ or whatever we wanted to do. But we get together on our own time and we can apply things that we've learned from having cross-trained in the past. Like everyone knows, Ross Sensei has done a lot of MMA training. I've done a bit of Muay Thai and also BJJ. So when we're having a pad session or a sparring session with the gloves on, we're applying more really stuff that we learned from those instructors. But also a lot of it just boiled down to principles in karate. So when we once recorded a podcast after one of our sparring sessions, and I was like, what are we doing anyway? Are we doing kickboxing? Are we doing Muay Thai? Are we doing boxing? And Ross says, we're just doing karate. It's just we happen to be wearing gloves and we happen to be kicking each other's legs, which is never done in Kumite for some reason. So yeah, we do train outside of the normal schedule. I do weight sessions as well, and I do yoga very lightly.
Let's not forget that we have opportunity once a month to train with Jonathan, which is Kyokushin classes.
Oh, yeah.
And that's actually a totally different story. Like we're always trying to do some certain kicks or punches one way, and we're getting a chance to try to do it completely different way. So yeah, we kind of getting a chance to try that other spectrum of possibilities, and this is great. You know, it definitely has benefit.
Yeah,
and that was provided by Sensei Scott, because Jonathan is Scott's friend as part of Dino.
Yeah.
I also we're trying to kind of implement that sense of sending, like you're going to train with Peter Constantine Sensei at some point this year, Makoto Kai, for example. So yeah, I mean, we try to, within the busy schedule of the Hombu Dojo, facilitate stuff like that. Yeah. Okay, we have to speed up, guys. Loads of questions, and we've already been going an hour. So, all three of you, what do you think your role is in developing the HDKI?
My role is, when Ross gonna be gone, and I'm gonna murder Rue, I'm gonna become favorite student of Scott Langley.
You heard it here first, folks.
No, I think our role in the development of the HDKI is to develop ourselves. And through being good karateka and good people, we'll make the HDKI a great organization.
Yeah, I think it comes down to let's be kind and teach good karate. Like, I think that, I mean, what can we do except try and be, like you say, develop ourselves to be the best selves that we can be, and then try and share all the sort of knowledge and insight that we've got from working in the dojo, and when we eventually do, as Simon Sensei said, fly the nest, and we just try and take some of that with us and be able to like evolve, that spirit of Shuhari, evolve into and create our own sort of little special thing.
How does it go in the dojo, Kun? Seek perfection of character. Come on, shitotsu!
No.
Is that the wrong one?
Okay, next question. To all, what age did you become black belts? How did you balance schoolwork, karate training, and downtime in the run-up to getting your black belts? That's for Alina, age 9.
Just trying to count.
I was 17, just coming up to take my A-levels. And I never missed a training session for my entire high school and university studies. And for me, it was the best kind of comparison, because I remember, I've said this story before, but I remember I was sat on the steps going into the examination hall in my finals at university, and I was had my hands in my head, and I was like this, waiting, and my friend came up to me and said, "Scott, don't worry," because it was the finals, most stressful. It's like, don't be too stressed out, it's going to be fine. I was like, "Oh no, sorry, I'm fine. I was training all weekend. I'm knackered, I'm just kind of resting because I had no fear of the exams, because I had to go and fight monsters in the dojo every single night. So karate for me was the perfect comparison balance to the stresses of normal life, exams, etc. And also, there's one thing easily provable that is good to help your mental health and also your learning ability, and that's physical exercise. So age and
I was 11, so like I say, I never missed a training session. But at 11, balancing the schoolwork and stuff wasn't a massive issue because I was 11. I don't even remember what I was doing at school at that time.
Long division.
Yeah, just go to school, and then four nights a week was karate time, and I just made sure I trained really hard every karate session. And if you're doing that, especially like at a young age, if you're just training hard's the key. Go into training, don't be lazy, and everything kind of works itself out. You manage to balance time and stress very well, I think. If you have that, again, physical exercise, that sort of mantra of going to the dojo and training hard makes everything a little bit easier.
Quick answers.
Yes.
I was 24 when I got my black belt. It was only 4 years ago. And before that, I'd been a career brown belt. I'd been a first kyu for 11 years. And then about balancing time and stuff. I was only working part-time. I was living in Dublin. I was working part-time in a toy shop. I was demonstrating toys and doing children's birthday parties. And I was living in a house with like 9 people. So my rent was very cheap. So I didn't have to work a lot. So I was going to karate training a lot. And like playing music on the weekends and stuff. That's how I just had a lot of time for karate.
He's a waster. That's what he's trying to say.
Yeah.
I am totally opposite of you guys. I don't have that most inspiring, perfect story. Like I started karate when I was probably 12, I think, or something like that. So I got my black belt when I was 30 years old. Balancing between work and training karate was quite challenging. But at the same time, it was the best part of my day. Probably like Monday morning, people were grumpy, like having those Monday bad moods. I was excited because I knew I'm gonna have good training in the evening. I was absolutely tired, wrecked, and angry. Still am. Yeah. So when I found Hombu Dojo, kind of everything clicked together. It saved my life.
Yep.
There we go. Okay, guys, quick answers.
Okay, quick answers. Okay.
You're just as bad.
Sorry.
Okay, I'm combining 2 questions now. This is from Simon Sensei. What are your thoughts on karate in Japan? Did you or do you still dream of living and training in Japan? Would you have liked a crack at doing the instructor's course over there? Can you tell us about the HTK internship program, and especially you as Hombu Dojo instructors, your role on relationship with the internees? How much pressure do you put on them, and how is it expressed? Well, it's a long question. Okay, who wants to? Well, you two haven't been to Japan,
Sorry.
so you can't answer it. What do you think about karate in Japan?
I think that the instruction there isn't any different than what we get here. If anything, we get better instruction in the dojo than I ever have over in Japan.
Okay, who wants to do the JKS instructor's course?
I would have loved to have done it, but I understand now that there's no need to put yourself through that kind of trauma to get good at karate.
Exactly. Agreed.
AJ?
Literally the same, yeah. Wouldn't actually go through the same as you did. I mean, you probably didn't know what you're putting yourself into, but I would be afraid.
Okay, HTK internship program. I'll tell you, HTK internship program is that we allow any HTK member to come and train in the Hombu Dojo and stay here, live. They train in the morning classes with the instructors and the evening classes taught by the instructors, and they also assist the kids classes for a whole month, and they get paid €400 for the month to help with their food. So training is free, accommodation is free, they get money for their food, but they train hard. How do you put pressure on them?
You kind of just make sure, like, because there is days, like especially if you're not used to the teaching schedule or the training schedule, they get fatigued, they get tired. You see them slipping, and you just try and help motivate them to make sure that they keep the energy up and they keep pushing themselves as hard as they can, because they're here for the month. You want them to get the most out of it the month. Training hard does that.
AJ, you going to say something?
Well, when I say, maybe people listening and thinking we're putting some sort of pressure, like planning how we're going to put pressure on how we're going to break them. There's no such a thing at all going on. It's kind of everything happening organically, and if we encourage them one way or another to train harder, or even they have injuries or feel like they don't want to, it just at the end of the day, we kind of trying to get the best out of them, and that's what happens.
It's definitely the friendliest living student program in the world.
I remember last day Kevin's training, the last training day Kevin had, he was sitting down and I came in and he said he's not training today, he's injured, and I was like, started giving Kevin some abuse, and I just said, listen, we know you're hurt, we know you're injured, we're not going to ask you to do 1,000 punches, just get on the dojo and hit the makiwara and just say that you trained every day on the internship. And he was like, just go on the fucking dojo. And he was like, okay, I'll go. Makiwara for an hour. And it was like, there you go. Don't you feel better? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, right.
Okay, speaking of Kevin, Jane Curry asks, to all instructors, where would you like to be in your karate careers in 5 years from now?
It's top secret. It's top secret.
Jesus Christ. AJ.
I just simply want to keep doing what I'm doing and see where I get. I want to stay healthy, to get stronger and better, and that's all.
Ross.
I would like in 5 years to have my own dojo in the States. Yeah, that would be a good place in 5 years.
I think in 5 years' time, Ross will have left, gone to America. Rue, it's all right. We'll still see you. Rue will have fulfilled his secret plan of eating a Big Mac, and yeah, you're going to go away from vegetarianism. So it'll be me and AJ in the dojo, and hopefully Caitlin and Carl, who are two junior black belt assistants, kind of help out. They are going to hopefully start full time in the next 3, 4 years, and AJ will be the elderly statesman, and I will take a step back, and he can force it into shape.
Become the favorite.
Yes. I will be here to be favorite. I'll have a more kind of mentorship role,
Well, you'll have to choose who your favorite is, AJ.
Yeah, you can choose who your favorite is.
Take those turns. I'm going to be my own favorite.
Okay. What was the most, again, from Jane, we'll do one more from Jane. What was the most discouraging time in your karate journey? How did you get through it?
Ooh,
That's building.
That's
Building up to my Nidan.
Yeah.
Tell us
The
more.
lead up to my Nidan was hell. It wasn't hell. It wasn't JKS Hombu or anything.
I thought we were very nice to you.
Oh yeah, no, it wasn't about God. I'm not blaming anyone. Like, I'm not saying you guys were being horrible to me. It's it was internal pressure as well.
All right.
Yeah, and the training was hard. Like I was training hard, and I was struggling to overcome a few certain things. And yeah, I was awake at nights crying.
Jeez, did it help?
Yeah. Well, I got my knee down.
Okay. Yeah, a miracle. AJ.
Well, I didn't have some sort of big event or some accident or something which would make me rethink everything. But it's always some sort of struggle. Sometimes like life goes up and down, everything goes up and down. So sometimes karate as well. Sometimes you have that belief. I have that belief that I'm starting to understand something. I'm starting to maybe move a little bit better and seeing kind of hope, light in the tunnel. Sometimes I feel like it was just illusion, you know what I mean? And having negative thoughts about karate in general. So yeah, it's just that up and down struggle. But with training, I think it's more or less you kind of starting to trust in yourself and understand more things and become a little bit better. So that's all, you know what I mean? I don't have big problems.
I had a tough time at 15. I won't get into the details, but when I was 15, karate politics, unfortunate circumstances and stuff kind of it made me lose a really close friend, make me lose another, like losing close friends and being forced to leave certain places and having to find new places to train and stuff from circumstances that at 15 I didn't really have any control of. But for some reason, I found myself being very much in the center of and being part of it, which was it was a very weird and strange time, yeah. But it's a bit personal, a bit depressing, so let's not go into it.
Swiftly moving on. I just say, like, 23 years ago, I snapped my ACL, my anterior cruciate ligament. Told I would never do karate again. When I said an operation, I didn't. I kind of fought back, blah blah blah. But I think anything like that, it's if it doesn't kill you, I don't want to quote Nietzsche, but like if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. Like things, hardship and adversity can be times of huge innovation and creativity. And I know after I snapped my ACL, my karate radically changed, had to. But then, it got, my ACL got, my ACL didn't get better, but my knee got stronger. I could start to move a little bit like I did previously, but then also had a whole new way of moving that I developed because of my ACL. So I think any sort of adversity, not all of it, but a lot of adversity can help you to kind of find new ways, which is very productive. Okay, quick one. With so many different options for people wanting to learn self-defense, MMA, Krav Maga, etc., is Bunkai still important to karate? If so, it is more or less important than being able to do a pretty technically perfect kata. And is it important? Should we drill it as much as we do with Kihon? Okay, first of all, is it important to do a pretty and technically perfect kata? Yes. I mean, pretty is like a bit of a funny term. Like, but technically, nothing's perfect. But a good technical kata is important because it shows you have body control, and you understand the nuances of physical intelligence. So certainly, being able to do technically good kata is really important. I think there's a big difference between the superficial pretty kata and technically good kata. Being able to understand how to technically use your body is super important, and that produces different superficial techniques. So one person's technically good technique and therefore kata will be very different from someone else's because their bodies are very different. But I think being able to do good technical kata is really important. Is Bunkai important? Well, yeah, I think it is important to understand. Bunkai, I think, comes from an understanding that you're moving in a spectrum of possibility. So you're not just focusing on that end point. And like, to be kind of really basic, a punch can have validity right the way through the arc of movement, and it's not just that last bit there. In fact, you could argue that the last bit is the least important aspect of that whole movement. So I think understanding every nuance of your movements, not the shapes, but the movements that you do, then naturally leads to understanding the possibilities of what Bunkai can do. The only one thing about Bunkai I'd say is that we are trying to reverse engineer. Like a lot of people say, well, that would never work. Saying, well, if someone threw a hook punch, I wouldn't do that technique. That would never work. But they're forgetting that, well, we're constrained by the shapes of the movement. If we're doing kind of magic amai and we decide that, like, someone kind of does a hook punch, we block and cover and attack in, well, they could say that would never work. You should just do this. Well, we can't just do that because that's not the kata. So I think Bunkai forces you down a very narrow path of trying to see all the nuance within those specific movements. And that in itself gives you a greater understanding and physical intelligence. So yes, Bunkai is important, but certainly not these generic shapes of, you do that and I do that, but they're just equally as superficial as the beautiful kata. So does that answer the question, or have I just rambled?
No, answered perfectly.
I think that Bunkai is closing the gap between being pretty and being functional. You know what I mean? If you know exactly what you're doing, you move different. If you're just making magic kamai and you don't know what the function of it, you're doing it different way.
This is for all of you. Do you ever get self-conscious stood in front of, with everyone looking at you and each with their own expectations?
we do a thing called Kangeko, where we're forced to teach in front of all the seniors in the dojo, and it doesn't matter what you teach, they are taking the piss 100% of the time. So you get thick skin, you get used to it. I guess that's the sort of gauntlet for any first sort of year as an instructor is if you can get through a Kangeko lesson.
It's adverse therapy. It's like at some point we're going to introduce spiders into the dojo just to get you used to being close to spiders.
Yeah.
Adverse therapy.
I remember the first course that I done abroad, and I was, obviously very nervous first time doing it. I did get very nervous. I was very self-conscious. But then once I started teaching, because I teach, every day, and you're teaching seniors in the dojo every day, and then I sort of hit my stride, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh, this is just like teaching in the dojo. So once I got over that initial, hump of like fear, I was just like teaching in the dojo normally. And ever since then, I've always looked at it from that way. So I don't get nervous anymore or anything like that. The first time, yeah.
AJ?
I think it's like some sort of therapy in small ways. We have those morning training episodes when Scott is just, we call it feel good day, and Scott is just watching, and it's really, really hard to do everything correct just because of that kind of pressure of attention. Sometimes you maybe even perform worse, or, but it's kind of making you stronger in a way. You kind of learn how to accept criticism, you know what I mean? You kind of not being afraid just to go and do it instead of being afraid and doing bad way, just let it go. And yeah, that's a part of the training, I think, in karate, getting feedback.
Rudy, do you answer? No.
He said no.
No.
I said no, because if you're not like, if I'm teaching a bunch of people, like first time or two, maybe I was nervous of teaching senior grades, but then I just decided I wouldn't try and overreach. I'd just teach something I know how to do. I know I can do it well, and teach stuff that I know is correct.
I mean, I think like when I teach a seminar, it doesn't really matter what it is, like a small seminar or a big seminar, and even to some extent, kind of when I'm teaching the senior classes in the evening here, there is a level of, nervousness and excitement is the same feeling. It just depends on what you describe it as. Am I feeling nervous or am I feeling excited? And like generally feeling is that if I don't get that kind of butterfly, like not so much here, but like certainly on courses, like if I don't get that kind of butterfly, I'm gonna, get in on, I'm about to kind of get on stage type thing, then if it wasn't there, then I don't think I'd do a good job. I think I need to have that little essence of I really need to kind of up my game and perform, because ultimately as teachers who are teaching something physical, we have to perform. We can't just do it through kind of verbal communication. So you have to kind of that kind of nervousness, excitement, almost like primes my body, and I feel more energetic, ready to go. So yes, I still feel it. I wouldn't describe it too much as nervousness, but I still feel it, and long may that continue. Okay, well, I think an hour and a half of boring people is plenty, but there's still loads of people watching. So to everybody who's watching, thank you very much. Rue, final last words.
I was about to do Jesse Enkamp there. Good luck, train hard, and have fun. Yeah, that's it. No, thanks for your interest, I suppose. I hope we provided answers that were somewhat satisfying and hopefully a little bit entertaining.
AJ.
Thank you for listening, of course. What I want to say, use the karate to fight that virus, and stay strong. Use self-defense to stay healthy, mentally and happy. You know what I mean?
I thought I was going to say something completely different. I would say thank you very much for the questions, guys. Hopefully we didn't bore you too much, but thanks for watching. Thanks for asking. Stay safe and keep training.
I have nothing to say because I'm not going to try to pretend to have some wisdom in the final words. I think I've done that plenty enough so far.
Right, just come across it.
Yeah. Thanks for
Leave
watching,
them wanting
guys.
more.
And I hope you've enjoyed it. Okay, Urs, take care.